You know, my good friend Scotty Bulldog Olson, the former flyweight champion of the world, and Mitch Chavalu, the very, very dedicated son of George Chavalu, who always is a promoter of sports as recreation and development and importance on every level, can tell you the path in boxing can be rough. A lot of ups and a few downs. But this guy who passed away in recent hours, boys, when I was in my early 20s, when I found out he won the World Bantamweight Championship, I said to myself, finally one for the good guys. He was stopped from fighting in the 1980 Summer Olympics because of the boycott. But Richie Sandoval, at the time, for a lot of us that were following the boxing game, was one of the most important bantamweight champions of the 1980s. Now, he passed away in recent hours. Today is July 22nd, probably yesterday or earlier today. He was retired from the game for a number of years. We'll get that into the tragedy behind that. He's a former lineal and WBA bantamweight champion, also ring champion. He was a silver medalist at the 79 Pan Am Games in Puerto Rico and was a U.S. Olympian during his amateur career. He's also the younger brother of title contender Alberto Sandoval. Sandoval, who was of Mexican descent, was born in Pomona, California, a city famous in pugilistic circles as a hotbed for young boxing prospects, including Sugar Shane Mosley. Now, Sandoval's brother Alberto was a popular bantamweight in the 70s who unsexily challenged the great Carlos Zarate and Lupe Pintor for the world title. The young Sandoval met another future world champion, Alberto Davila, at Pomona boxing gyms. Eventually he became friends and he shared the burdens of boxing's dangers later on in life. Now, he was a national Golden Glove champion from 79 to 80. He went on to win the national AAU championship of light flyweight and then in the flyweight division. He did qualify for the 80 U.S. Olympic team, but was unable to compete during the Summer Olympics boycott of Moscow. In 2007, he received one of 461 congressional gold medals created especially for the Spartan athletes. Now, Richie made his pro debut on November 5th, 1980, beating Geraldo Pedroza in Las Vegas by a second-round knockout. He won his first 10 fights by KO, including 2 over fringe contender Javier Baez. For his 11th fight, Sandoval met Harold Petty, a boxer still fighting professionally at the age of 42, who challenged twice for world titles. On January 28, 82, he outpointed the undefeated Petty over 10 rounds, going on to 7 more wins that year, including another 10-round points victory over Petty. Now, Sandoval had 5 wins in 83, the year in which his friend Davila won the WBC bantamweight title by knocking out Kiko Begines, or Bedenes, who died unfortunately days later. This introduced Sandoval to the darker side of boxing, as he saw how hard it was for Davila to recover. Now, Sandoval's next fight was on March 15, 84. Despite his record of 22 victories undefeated, including 15 knockouts, he was a virtual unknown to most boxing fans when he met the lineal and WBA bantamweight champion Jeff Chandler in Atlantic City. However, in Canada, he was well known because he was going to be part of that U.S. Olympic team that was going to be very strong in 1980. So we were saying to ourselves, this could be an interesting fight. Now, after dropping the champion in round 11, he won a TKO in round 15 to become a world champion in a major upset. Back in the day, there were 15-round fights, but of course, with the Dooku Kim death, the world title fights went back to 12 rounds. He followed this up with his first trip abroad as a pro boxer to Monte Carlo on September 22nd. He outpointed the top-ranked and well-known Edgar Romain over 15 rounds on the undercard of Donald Curry's 6-round knockout win over Nino LaRocca. He fought again on 15 December against Cardenio Ula, who was attempting to become the first Chilean world boxing champion in history. According to a report made by Ring en Español, or Spanish Ring, Ula caused Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet to jump off his chair with excitement when he dropped Sandoval in the third round, but Richie recovered and retained the title with an 8-round knockout. By then, however, Sandoval was facing weight problems. He could barely make the weight even for fights in the featherweight division, 2 divisions above bantamweight, and was forced to take all his matches in 85 as a featherweight instead. He scored 3 10-round decisions that year, all non-title, and won in 86, including Franco Duarte and Diego Avila, which he won. Now, after not defending his title for a year and a half, it was in the ring in the WBA championship. He was forced by the Bob Arum-led WBA to defend his title or be stripped of it. He chose to defend it despite his problems making the weight. On March 3rd, 86, he defended his title against the very talented Gabby Canizales as part of a super undercard organized by promoter Bob Arum, which included the Hearns versus Schuler and Haglers versus John the Beast Mugabe and Gouders. That was probably one of the best cards of the decade. Sandoval reportedly had to lose around 12 pounds in 3 days, almost 1/10 of his body weight, in order to be able to fight that night, staving off any solid foods and surviving only on water. Weakened and feeling the side effects of such a sudden drop in weight, Sandoval suffered 4 knockdowns, but he fought on until the 5th knockdown, which happened in round 7, at which the referee stopped the fight. Because of this and the loss of weight during the contest, he fell unconscious a few minutes after the match was stopped, and he did not breathe for an estimated 3 minutes. He was rushed to a hospital by local on-site paramedics, but he remained in critical condition for the next few nights. He had life-saving brain surgery, but the inevitable consequence was that Sandoval was obliged to retire. His final record was 29-1 with 17 wins by knockout. Now, before and after the Chandler fight, he fought some really, really strong contenders, but if he would have been an Olympian in 1980, obviously he would have been a household name. I don't know how much money and how much glory he lost on that. Now, he became, of course, a trainer, best known in Canada for training a flyweight champion of the world, Scotty Bulldog Olsen, in his path to his time with in the U.S. Top Rank group, and he's a Canadian, pro era. Now, Sandoval was always giving back to the sport as a trainer and as a motivator. He later, when touring across the states with Davila, as each had been through both sides of a tragic boxing event. He went on television talk shows and public appearances to explain to the general public how a boxer feels, in Davila's case, after an opponent has died, and how a boxer can be close to death in an instant after a fight, in Sandoval's case, and then having to deal with the fact that he or she will never be able to be boxed again. Sandoval and Davila, of course, remain lifelong friends. Now, the Chandler-Sandoval fight, I go back to that every once in a while because it was a very, very interesting match. Now, in this fight, ladies and gentlemen, Sandoval dominated the whole fight. I think my dad and I would score fights. He only lost, I think, 1 round, and that was the second. Now, Judge Frank Cappuccino had it 137-29 by the time in a stoppage, which, again, a TKO in round 15 of 15. Arthur McCanty was the ref. The other judge, 129-126, and Eva Shane, 140-126. The stoppage came at the 120, again, of the 15 round. Now, Jeff Chandler was hard shakes. They call him Joltin Jeff Chandler at the time. And let me tell you something, Jeff Chandler was very smooth. But when Richie won this match, he became an instant hero in Canada because he kind of had that Canadian throwback style, Nicky Fulano and Al Ford, Gaetan Hart, that strong workman-like. There's a lot of comparisons with the Canadian boxing, hard work style, and the California Latino style. Sandoval was a worker. He was always active. But it's funny how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. He rose from basically only a handful of few, and a fortunate few like us, knew him from the Pan Am Games in 79, knew him from being not have a chance at the Olympics. And that was a marquee division at the time, flyweight and bantamweights. These were the most favorite worldwide divisions because in Japan and the Asiatic core, flyweights were hometown heroes and spectacular, and the bantamweights or featherweights and the welterweights were just like gods to us back in the day. If you won a world title at 118 or 124 or 147, and lightweight too at 135, you were gods because Duran taught us that, to Zarate, Zamora, Salvador Sanchez, Daniel Little Red Lopez. So when he won, he came at the tail end of the spectacular decade of the 70s into the early 80s of what the featherweights and bantamweights meant to us. So my condolences to all his friends and family, especially our good friend of the Brunswick Independent Authors Association, Scotty Bulldog Olson. That was his first pro trainer. You know, a trainer is like a best friend. They'll tell you what you need to hear, but they won't lie to you. And I think Bulldog title, a lot of that is owed to Sandoval's guidance. You know, and we didn't get many world championships for the lower weights for Canadians. It was over mostly the upper weights. But my God, what a loss for the boxing community. Only 63. You know, 63 is like the new 40. It's amazing. But Sandoval will be missed. And brother, when you bet Jeff Chandler, I never had a chance to meet you. I'd like to thank both of you for giving such a good effort in that fight. Jeff Chandler was a very popular fighter in Canada. For you to beat him, you know, you had to be tough. Joltin Jeff Chandler, boys. Very underrated fighter. Has it been 40 years already since that fight? Life just passes, eh? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our boxing tributes, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Have a good one. Bye.